It's good to be here. Over the past few days, so many people have shared so much cool stuff on the stage. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about maps, content, and Web3. I'm Akshay. I work at a company called Proto. We build user-generated maps on chain. And before jumping into our product and what we're doing, I'd like to talk about the why and how of what we're doing. So everyone here has used a map today already at some point of time, I'm guessing. You just saw one on screen, but you also probably used Uber or Bolt to get here, checked how long it would take on Google Maps, used it in one way or the other. On average, users access maps about 4.5 times a day, which is much more than we use Stripe or PayPal or any of those other solutions. And maps are so ubiquitous that we often forget them. We just tune them out, which is probably the best thing for the product. So I'm living right now at an Airbnb in Central, as I'm guessing a lot of you people are. And every day when I go home, I'm dropped off about 500 meters away from where my actual hotel is. I think the reason this happened is because the main street, the main entrance to my building, there's construction going on there. And that's been going on for the past 3 months. And the map has not updated itself to tell the driver that that's where that they need to drop me off at a different location. I give this example to indicate a shared experience that we've all had. You know, the wrong route, the long conversation with the Grubhub guy telling them where your main door is, or the faraway Uber drop. And it's a very small example that talks about the problem that maps face, which is reflected in our daily lives. The bigger problem is that we're actually still making them the way we made them 20 years ago. And the challenges that come from that have economic implications that you're already seeing on screen right now, which is one specific example from one specific country. But it's also that we've changed the way our needs are around maps because of the way consumption and customer preferences have changed. Just standard navigation and local search doesn't do the trick anymore. We need hyper-local, hyper-specific information about our cities and our places where we live in to be able to execute the same things that we did in the past. So before we jump into all of this, I want to talk about how we build a map. And it's honestly not that complicated. It's a very simple process of collect, manage, analyze, and visualize. And we're pretty much golden on every step of this way, apart from that little first step called data capture. Data management is really easy, analysis has been perfected almost in GIS, and visualization is not really a challenge anymore. And I think the reason that we're still stuck at data collection is that the world is large, and it changes really fast, and one product or one company does not have the ability to be everywhere all the time. So data collection is still piecemeal, which means that we're using a bunch of different things together to make it happen. We use street view cars for something, satellite imagery for something, open source contributions for something else, and we patch all of that stuff together to build a map that we all use. And for the longest time, the open source contribution piece was the biggest piece in this thing. Open source contribution platforms like OSM or Overture were the key to a lot of these companies building out their maps. And basically, an open source contribution is, let's say, like, imagine folks all over the world independently, painstakingly contributing data about their particular region and making sure that that data is up to date. And contributions aren't easy to make. It means that these people need to spend time out in the real world. They need to capture that data. They need to verify it. They need to make sure that it's digitized and translated into a format that is universally accessible. And the fact that at some point that data gets monetized by a third party, which is providing a mapping API to its customers, creates some sort of conflict between these contributors and the people who are sort of using this data. And this is, I think, where Web3 can help. Ultimately, Web3 is about aligning incentives, and something that's been very well demonstrated by token incentivized networks or Deepin that have been on the stage before, Helium being the best example. And that's what we need to do with mapping. We need to empower map makers and cartographers around the world to contribute data independently. Map data needs to be like every other piece of data on Web3, built independently, managed publicly, and distributed permissionlessly to be the same thing at the same scale, to be a global, decentralized maps of the world. And this is where we come in. We're Proto. Proto is a user-generated, token-incentivized map of the world. And to us, open source map makers or open source mapping communities are content creators. We think that just like YouTube or Instagram, these folks build unique, creative data streams, almost like content. And just like YouTube provides a platform to discover and consume content of any type, I think that we want Proto to provide a platform to consume and discover map content. But we also want to do two more things. One is that we want to lower the barrier of entry into this community. You shouldn't need to know GIS to be able to contribute data on the map. And two, we need to make it globally accessible. You shouldn't need to know GIS, but you also shouldn't need a camera, a GPS receiver, or some sort of an obscure hardware device to make this happen. So Proto is available on the most universally accessible device there is, the mobile phone. We released a private beta on iOS and Android 6 weeks ago in Bangalore. We have a community of 500 mappers there mapping out the city who are contributing data every single day. And our public beta will be released at the end of this month. The way we make this happen is that we organize events called mapathons, which are basically a weekend where we go out with the community, spend some time walking around a particular part of the city, and capturing data about that part of the city. That data ultimately gets fed into a large model on the back end, which we use to build an API that we serve to our customers, and our community gets the incentive. Thank you so much for your time. That's all I have. And you can check us out at protomap.xyz. Let us know if you're interested in organizing mapathons in your cities. We'd love to support you. We want the community to take over this process as fast as possible. And if you are an independent map maker in one of the cities here in Europe, please let us know. We'd love to help you out. Thank you so much.